Welcome back to another episode of Beyond the Gates, except this isn't like a normal episode. We don't know what we're going to call it. We don't know what we're going to do with it. This may not even get posted. We just finished recording episode 5, so we've played about probably 20 hours into the campaign that's been cut down into, some sizable little episodes. And yeah, so we're just kind of doing a check-in, just a casual, a chance to talk about the podcast, any other random things that come up. But yeah, so everyone's here. If you want to introduce yourselves.
Do we have to?
I don't wanna.
Hi, I'm Bryleigh, and I play Aster Laveau.
I'm Adam Baeza. I play Ruinel of Tarsus.
I am Mitchell Butter Caldwell. I play Irrit Hardstar.
And my name is Chelsea, and I play Hope Bright Shadow.
And I'm Jacob, and I'm the DM.
And we're all here.
We're all here.
Whoa.
Barely.
Bro is here.
So how are you guys feeling so far about what's going on? Obviously, it was episode 4. We had a little bit of some interesting encounters with an ex-boyfriend and someone who may or may not have slaughtered everyone that we
No one cared about.
Yeah. So I don't know. How are we feeling?
It was fun.
Feeling sufficiently D&D traumatized.
Okay.
That's how you know you're having fun.
Exactly. That's why I write in characters like that into my backstory, so the DM can take it and roll with it.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So this is like my first time. This is my first real actual time being part of a dedicated campaign.
Yeah.
I've done a couple other one-offs and they were fine, but just life got in the way. But doing this for the first time and just doing it, having it scheduled and all this stuff, it's been really fun. I'm still an idiot when it comes to D&D. Don't know a lot, but it's been great. They've been showing me the ropes. Yes, don't smile at me, Jacob.
I haven't done anything.
Yes, I see you right there.
Remember, you're always a student.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm making it up as I go.
No.
Literally.
That's how it works.
That's
Pulling it out.
It's
5
all
minutes
improv and
before.
role play. Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Literally, I did right as the winter break started, I did the first session of a campaign, and whenever I was walking in, I had about 2 sentences worth of notes, and then I pulled 3 hours out.
Yeah. So okay. So, we all have we're all creatives in various different fields. We got some graphic designers, filmmakers. We have an engineer.
Engineer / filmmaker /
Yeah.
something of a writer.
Yeah. So how do you what's, we all have for the most part, some of us have more D&D experience than others. I actually don't have too much D&D experience. This is only my second or third time DMing, but I like to write various little things and stuff. None of it ever really goes anywhere, but just to, keep me busy every now and then, I'll write. How is improv and trying to pull off characters and stuff is a little bit of a struggle for me. So for other people who don't D&D too much, how are you guys feeling with that transition to doing voices and trying to improv of stuff that you don't know is going on? How's that feeling?
Anxiety.
Yeah.
Agony. No.
Misery.
No, I do actually suffer from clinical anxiety, and I do take medicine for it to help me stay focused and keep calm and all of that. So if anybody out there is struggling, you can do it too. Woo! Woo! So I also am trying to take some voice acting classes, and I tried to find some improv online classes because if you try to do improv in person, and you have to drive 2-3 hours to get there. So I'm trying to improve my craft slowly but surely so that I don't have any panic attacks.
Yeah, we were trying to find some improv classes and stuff near us, and we haven't found anything yet. So I'm hoping to find something or get the chance to travel.
What if we just started our own improv
class for ourselves? Yeah.
It's if you think we suck, there's a reason.
Yes, and.
Yes,
Yes,
and. No, but. But yeah.
I think for me, it's been interesting because I have been D&Ding for quite a while, and every single campaign is different. Even if you have the same DM, which this is the first time that I've, played in a campaign with Jacob, and so he's a drastically different DM than the DM that I've worked with for years in different campaigns. It's not bad. It's a new experience, which is why, there's stopping for questions, because I'm so, when you've been doing 5+ years of campaigns with the same DM, you're used to the way that they roll their games.
Yeah.
And so it's been a big, learning experience, and just, having to get comfortable and be comfortable with asking questions of, hey, I know like this is a thing that I have a preconceived notion about, but is this how you're also going to roll your game as well? And so it's definitely been an experience of getting out of the habits, and learning to work with like a new person who's leading a game. And then, I always, I've always loved character building and building out backstories and things like that. And I really think that, the actual acting experiences that I've had, and working with that has actually helped a lot in preparing, because like there's a way to like untrained prepare a character. And then there's a way that I've kind of learned to really prep for roles per se, that also directly translate into building out a character that you're starting from scratch with.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think that that's one of the things about like D&D is that like everyone's interpretation of it is a little bit different, and that's what it's like. The Dungeon Master's Guide is thick, right? No one's read all of it. I've only read a little bit of it, and I like try to read a little bit every now and then. But there's just so many rules and things. But that's also one of the rules of D&D is that like if the rules don't work, don't stick to them. Like if it doesn't work for your group. And so like I enjoy that there's a little bit of flexibility kind of built into it by nature. And so I don't know. I'm sure that there's going to be a lot of, if there's anyone who listens to this, which right now we don't really have very many people listening. We're hoping that
those that listen.
Yeah, thank you. If you're listening to this right now, shout out to you. But
One of the cool ones.
Yeah, one of the cool ones. One of the day ones, or maybe you're listening to this 7 years from now, and maybe the podcast doesn't exist anymore, and we're all old.
But existential crisising us right now.
But I think one of the things that I'm trying to like keep in mind is that like if y'all aren't having fun and we're not having fun, then like is it really like worth doing? And I hope you guys are having fun so far. If you're not, please tell me so that we can like try to fix it going forward.
I hate it here. I don't want to play with you anymore.
Well, and so the other thing that's fun and like it's very taxing to do this. If we try to record and edit out all the non-essential stuff. So also we try to keep it family friendly. So there's a lot of editing work that goes into this to make sure that it flows as smoothly as possible. It's easy for like kids and stuff to understand if they don't know anything about D&D. So it's, family geared. But the other thing that we're struggling with that I think that's taking up some time right now is that right now it's 2025. D&D the 2024 rule set is still not completely released, but mostly released at this point. So a lot of D&D sites and things that we use as reference are now starting to update to the 2024 rules. And we're using the 2014 5e, like standard 5e regular rules. And so we're running into issues sometimes where like we're reading different sets of the rules. So like we're reading a spell, and in one, I think we ran into this with one.
Command.
Yeah. So the command spell in 5e requires comprehension, and then maybe in 2024 it doesn't require comprehension.
Yeah, so it's like the caveat of when you're reading between the two. 5e, so 2014 5e has the rule of comprehension, but it's a bit more flexible with what you can command, versus our updated rules of 2024 is comprehension is not necessarily the crux of the issue, but you're limited on your commands. And so just from reading it black and white the way it's written, like those were the two differences. And I just happened to, because I homebrewed a lot of things, and so I have like its own file, like I just have everything in one file. And so I had pulled, like, just unbeknownst to me and just not paying close enough attention, I had pulled command from 2024 and not 2014. And it was going to break, I think, one of your encounters. And it just...
it was
Yeah.
it was pretty
Like-
it was pretty close. It like I believe it was the Wyvern fight, maybe.
Yeah, it was the Wyvern.
And one of the so that's another issue is like we have to figure out and make sure that we're on the right edition of D&D whenever we're looking it up, because right now like D&D 2024 that's what it's called. Like they didn't really, I don't know, the naming convention for D&D is, it's weird, right? There's like Advanced Dungeons and Dragons, 3rd edition, 4th edition, 3.5. There's a 3.5.
Was there a 4th edition?
Yeah, there was a 4th edition, I believe. 5th edition obviously was the one that everyone's pretty much been playing with most recently. So the naming convention
I
had,
think it's literally 5.5. Like,
yeah. So like, but they didn't do that. And at one point it was called like D&D 1, and I don't know. Then Wizards ended up changing that, so it's kind of confusing. And so now it's just D&D 2024. But if you look up 5e, sometimes it still pulls up the 2024 rules, and so we're running into a bit of that issue where that ends up where we're trying to like not get too rules lawyery, but trying to figure out what's kind of legal and what's not. Within the realm of keeping it fun, but also making sure that we don't break things too much. But yeah.
No, I think one of the things that's most difficult for me as a visual person, we're not working with models and physical maps, and so
Yeah.
I will have a difficult time picturing mentally where people are at, and I think that I'm moving towards one character and then end up moving towards a completely different character, and then some of my spell is not in range the way that I think that it is.
Yeah, I think that's been a really fun exercise. Like it's very difficult not having like maps and things like that, but I think it's helping us to try and be more audio descriptive. And then I've noticed that sometimes like there have been instances where I can't find the right words, and so I have to like draw it out or something, and then I try and like figure out the words, and then I do figure out the words eventually, but like it's after the fact. And like there's been moments where I think there's one point where Mitchell and I are talking about something, and he goes, "Oh, it's like this," and I realized like listening to that episode later, it's like we never explained what this is that he's referring to, because he's showing us something physical. And so it's trying to figure out how we can succeed as a podcast and keep all of our things straight, but still make it to where like it's understandable from someone who's listening and not being able to see. And yeah, that's difficult because, if you're just referencing something, it's like, oh, this, and you just show someone something that's understood. But for an audio podcast, we don't have a video element. Not right now. I mean, maybe at some point, but.
Sony, please sponsor us with an FX30.
Yeah, Sony, send us Epic. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I'm not kidding. I mean, if you want a Sony, but I mean.
Sponsorships.
Yeah. Ooh. This week is brought to you by HelloFresh.
Use our code Beyond the Gates 30 to get 30% off your next order.
Yes. You can go beyond the first 30% of the gate.
Use the code D30.
To get 30% more flavor.
Yes.
Yeah, they send you 30% more salt.
Yeah. Actually, you can control how much salt you put in it by just not putting any salt in it, because literally they tell you to add salt in almost every step. So just don't put the salt.
Just don't add as much.
Just don't add the salt.
But yeah. Hey, if you are listening to this and you're a brand or something, I don't know if that'll happen, but if it happens, hit us up if you want to do a sponsorship or something like that. That'd be fun.
What's our business email?
I think it's whatawaitsbeyondthegates@gmail.com. Let me double check. So our contact email is whatawaitsbeyondthegates@gmail.com. You can also message us on Instagram @beyondthegatespod. And yeah, that's really the only social media we're on. We just added a TikTok. We haven't done anything with it, but after our brief little ban in the United States for like 16 hours of TikTok, it is back. So we do have TikTok again, but we don't have any content on there. But you can send us a message on there. You can send us a message on Instagram. We may be adding a Facebook at some point soon. We're not on X or Blue Sky or anything of that, any of a more like thread-based social media platform currently. But yeah, there's several ways to get in contact with us. Hit us up.
The first thing we're going to do on our TikTok account is do a TikTok dance.
Yes. It's actually going to be Mitchell doing the renegade.
Oh man, I don't know how to do that.
Renegade.
I don't know that dance.
It's okay. You'll learn it. We'll find a video and send it to you.
Oh,
you
boy.
have 30 minutes.
Oh golly.
Timer starts now. Get to work.
So
Let me roll a performance check.
yeah, roll a performance check in real life.
With disadvantage.
Player.
So as we're going through this story and playing, what's like your favorite part about playing your character specifically?
I think definitely something with Ruinel is, even though it's been so terrible, at least trying to do another voice other than my own, and like, or like something kind of putting myself out there in terms of like going into unfamiliar territory with a voice, because I'm so used to my voice, and then to like the other voices I commonly do, like whatever meme voice I do, like bruh or something like that. Yeah, I just had to do
That's
it.
a really good impression.
Thank you. But it's like I'm putting myself out there and I'm trying to do an entirely new voice, while and like an entirely different character in terms of attitude, like with the things they could say, while also like making it enjoyable, but and then like listenable to the readers, if that make, or to the readers, to the audio listeners, if that makes any sense.
Our only listeners.
Shut up. You know, it's just it's the getting out of my comfort zone with that, and then also just like being able to do cool stuff in this world, like the like during the dragon fight of episode 2, or the wyvern fight of episode 2. That is episode 2, right? Okay,
yeah.
cool. I keep getting mixed up if it's episode 2 or 3, even though episode 3 is not even out yet at the time of recording.
Yeah, at the time of this recording. Yeah.
Like with episode 2, where Ruinel just shoots her arm out and then latches on his dragon. It's like that's something that I would think about happening in like Sekiro or Elden Ring or Monster Hunter. That's like being able to have a character that I wrote, and like that I kind of worked with Jacob on it to nail down what the rules. Being able to just say I had her do that. Like that's one of the coolest aspects of D&D in general to me, especially since I'm still learning.
Yeah, I feel like we need some Baldur's Gate time with Adam. I feel like he'll learn so much he doesn't even understand yet.
I almost like bought it and was playing the other day to try to get out of my own head and figure out.
It's great. Yeah, I mean it's 1-for-1 with 5e, 2014 5e. But yeah,
I thought it had some more aspects of like I thought it had more aspects of like, well, at the time D&D 1.
maybe it does. I'm not sure, but I know that pretty much all the mechanics are like, at least in terms of like the basics, like when it comes to like understanding action economy and things like that, like it's all built in, like reactions, actions, bonus actions, movement, like all of that's baked into Baldur's Gate.
Because I don't know who said this or told me this. I might have just read it online, something, so, you know, oh, it's true. But I had heard somewhere that, like, Wizards of the Coast was kind of testing D&D 1 with Baldur's Gate 3.
Maybe.
I don't know how true that is, but I heard it at some point.
Yeah, I have to look it up. It's actually been a couple of months, I think, since I've sat down to play Baldur's Gate. But it's one of those games that like I keep restarting to make a new character, because there's just, you know, whenever you have that, you don't need to get with a group. I mean, you can play online, so that's a cool thing.
Yeah, but then you can have one person that's never available to play anymore, and so then you have to restart.
Yeah, so with the availability being that you're only reliant on you, and the game is kind of your dungeon master, it's pretty open to being able to like try new things that, you know, normally for D&D you have to roll up a character and then find a group of people to like play and test out that character with, whereas in Baldur's Gate you can kind of just roll with it.
And if you're on, I believe it's on the consoles now, but
Yeah.
I know for sure on PC you can add mods to it and stuff like that, which just
cool.
opens up the world even more.
And
Yeah.
the character building.
Yes.
Which, like, it's kind of fun, as like to think about like people who have maybe never like D&D'd before, like properly D&D'd before, but like BG3 is their introduction to D&D. And so I think just in the last 3 or 4 years, like there's been a lot of media that's been put out in like gaming formats or, like shows and just people doing certain things that it's really drawing a lot of attention to the benefits of D&D and the uniqueness of, Dungeons and Dragons. And so like, especially the podcasting format, this is not something that I would have probably experienced 15 years ago, like podcasting format 15, 20 years ago is drastically different than podcasting format now.
Yeah.
And the joking question of, is it really a podcast if it's video, Yeah. And so things like that. And, no, it's just exciting. Like just all the great and cool and fun things that are happening like simultaneously that are in the realm of D&D and how more people are being introduced to it, which I think is also one of the points of why we're doing this and why we're trying to make it accessible to more than just, 18 plus.
Yeah. So like back to like favorite part about like playing your character. So we heard, Adam say that Ruinell just being like a different personality and a different character, and like not a different character, but like just having to do like voices and things like that. Like what does everyone else? How does everyone else feel about like?
Well, like I had an idea of how I thought Hope was going to act and behave, and then whenever I got here and I started doing the roles were not in favor of that particular personality or attitude, and so I had to adjust on the fly how she was acting and how she was behaving. And I think she's become more sassy than I initially intended her to be. So it's an interesting juxtaposition and having to like relearn who she is.
Well, I think that's because we've been trying to do batch recordings. So we've done 3 recording. This is our 3rd or 4th?
Wow, this is
It's like the fourth.
I think at least.
So we try to record at least 1 or 2 if we can. And I think whenever we finished episode 1 and it was all like cut together and we were getting ready to like put it out and publish it, I think everyone was like, Hope is so sassy. Like she starts off and it's like not that way, but like it just very like progressively, like her character, like there's like a rock and a hard place, and Chelsea was able to mold Hope to fit into the world. Whereas like initially Hope didn't really blend how we were thinking she was going to blend. So you were able to like meld it to the rest of the party dynamic. And I think that it worked out really well. But like, that's been fun to like watch you guys, like, cause you have like your character written, but also a character is like something that's supposed to be dynamic. And so watching you like has been really fun.
Yeah. Cause I know like personally I had like, and I don't like to give myself like too much of an idea what the character is going to be.
Yeah, for sure.
Because like perfect example of Hope, you don't know exactly how your character is going to fit into the world, and so if you have this, this is exactly how I'm going to play this character, X, Y, Z, then your chances of not fitting into the world really raises. And so just kind of going with the flow, seeing how okay, like this happened, okay, how would my character react to that? Okay, yeah, let's do this.
Yeah. And
then react as such.
So what's been one of your favorite parts about playing Irit specifically? Because okay, for full disclosure, Mitchell, I believe, have you only ever played characters named Terry?
No.
Okay. Well, typically, Mitchell has like one character name that he sticks with, but just does a different character.
Well, that started like maybe a year ago.
Okay.
Say. That hasn't been like too terribly long.
Okay.
Too terribly long.
Yeah.
But then I found out that Irit is just Terry backwards.
Yeah.
I found that out earlier today.
Yeah, I was.
They tried to sneak a fast one on me.
I did.
You
Sneak
did
a
for
fast
several
one.
episodes. Yeah.
There is a horse named Terry.
Yeah.
Until this one over here
He's pointing at me.
spilled the beans.
Yeah.
Irit, like mechanically, is based off of a different character that never got to never got to shine in a different campaign. That a campaign that the DM has moved away. I haven't talked to him in a couple years now. He stopped reaching out and X, Y, and Z and all that stuff. But that character had like a bunch of goals and a bunch of like, okay, I really want to do this, X, Y, and Z, but never got to. And so I'm able to kind of relive that through Irrit.
Okay.
And hopefully actually get to do X, Y, and Z.
Yeah, I get to kind of fulfill some of those
Yes.
those wants that you were wanting to do with your character.
And so, well, that, I guess that's my favorite thing about it. I mean, there's nothing I don't like. I don't know how else to like phrase it, but I really enjoy playing my character.
You don't have any things that you like hate about Irrit yet.
Yeah.
Like you haven't backed yourself into a corner yet with Irrit to where you're like, yeah.
It's like, man, I really wish Irrit was kind of this way, but no, I haven't. Nothing like that.
Yeah, because that's the hard part about developing a character is once you have that development, that sometimes you get put in a situation where it's like, like I could do this, but like my character wouldn't, and so that can be difficult. But yeah, so I get that.
I think for me with Aster, a lot of what I'm looking forward to the most about playing her has actually not come up situationally yet. So most of my interactions so far have been fairly casual between, NPCs and, other player characters in our campaign, and between combats and just what we've been doing, like there hasn't been a lot of downtime to develop some of the things and try some of the things that Astra is going to eventually, start to use within the campaign. So it's just the anticipation right now is enjoyable, and getting to see, everybody working together and just enjoying being in a campaign right now is what, is really kind of my cup of tea and the most enjoyable part right now. But also just watching, and because as her, as Aster, she would be paying attention to the other characters and, the other people in her party, and kind of clocking certain things and how, eventually that will also benefit her. So it's more of she's kind of watching and waiting right now. So it's just the anticipation of future things.
Yeah. So that's what you enjoy about your character. What was like the hardest part of making your character?
I decided to homebrew a lot of things about my character. Just because I like a good challenge, and I wanted to challenge myself a bit with the writing and building mechanics out and things like that. And so that's been its own learning process. And that, I guess, is the most challenging, quote unquote challenging, the writing of the backstory and building the actual character and the personality is kind of, my favorite thing. And it's always been my favorite thing about D&D, because I write a lot outside of, D&D and just things that I do. And so that part came pretty naturally, but it's just, you play D&D for so long, but you play, kind of like with certain mechanics for a while, and you never really venture out to look at other mechanics because typically you don't look at it unless you're a DM. Mm-hmm. And so that's been kind of the most, challenging part, is just having to think more like a DM when it came to writing a lot of the homebrew elements of her. That way that I understood it well enough, and it also made sense to, you who, as our DM, you have to understand it the most.
And shout out to Jesse.
And Jesse.
He's not here
shout out
currently.
Jesse.
Shout out. Shout out.
We miss you, Jesse. But yeah, and just making sure that it's something, that isn't too broken, but also brings in that element of, I'm so used to writing, and being in a campaign with somebody whose rules I'm used to. And so that just adds that extra element.
Chelsea?
There's not really anything that I dislike. It's the part that's most challenging is that I didn't really realize the type of bard that was being built by Bryleigh. And we ended up starting the campaign with a lot of the spells that were exactly the same.
Yeah.
So I've had to swap out a lot of the spells that I started with for newer spells that were more in line with healing and meditation and stuff like that, and
Sure.
less with deception. So I kind of, because when I originally planned the character, I planned her to just, oh, she had this mental breakdown with this thing with her mom, and now she's just lying to everybody and everything, and deception here and deception there, and I'm having to pivot more to the healing side and less towards the lie to everybody.
Yeah, trying to like get a little bit more into, not like overdo the trope of like a healing cleric, but also trying to like lean a little bit more into it than you initially planned, right?
Yeah, because, well, I originally wanted to play like a cackling witch. But
Yeah, I remember the like our first like party talk that Chelsea was gonna be. We were trying to homebrew like a witch class.
Yeah, and then we realized that we didn't have a healer, and I was like, well, I still want to be tricky, but I don't want to be like a stereotypical cleric. So
Yeah.
that was all these little pivots that had to happen in order to get where we are today.
Yeah, and I think you're finding that balance still. Mm-hmm. And I think that's been fun.
Yeah.
Because like trying to lean, like deciding like. Because that's definitely like a choice, right? Is like, do you want to lean into the stereotype of like your class, or do you want to stray, or like how,
Mm-hmm.
So
Finding cool, interesting ways to use spells that you wouldn't have thought to, like in this episode we just recorded, where I had to use a spiritual weapon to fix a track.
yeah, that was an interesting one. Yeah, just trying to apply things in random ways that
Because you can make it look however you want. It's like, why not make it look like a track? I don't have to hit anybody with it. I can just put it there.
Yeah, and I mean, if you can hit people with it, then I mean, you would assume that there's some sort of like physical nature to it. So it's like I can't really argue against that, And that may
Yeah.
not be the right way to have ruled, as like going strictly by the book. But in the moment, I don't know, it felt good.
Rule of cool.
Rule of cool, yeah. I
If
mean,
you don't agree, tell us about it in the comments.
yeah, comment
don't.
on it. No. Even if it's
I'm joking.
Yeah,
even
comment
if
on
it's
Spotify.
negative,
That doesn't
Yeah.
exist.
All
even if
press
it's-
is good press.
Yeah, all press is good
Engagement
press.
is engagement.
Yeah. Leave some hate comments. Leave a bunch of them. Tag your friends with a bunch of hate comments so that people have to listen to figure out what you're talking about.
Be sure to tag me on Twitter at. Actually, I don't. I'm not giving that out.
So
At Gregory Allspark.
Oh no! There's gonna be a dude who's gonna start getting a bunch of spam from this.
I don't know if that's an actual like.
Oh, I'm sure. Yeah.
so
Twitter.
So
Gregory,
Mitchell,
where the E's are threes.
So Mitchell, what was one of the hardest parts about making Irit?
Probably his voice. So, how I normally do stuff in all of my other campaigns is I am always wearing a hat. And so whenever I'm in character, for years, I just turn the hat around. And that's known as, oh, I'm talking in character. So, I know it's quite simple, but yeah.
No, that makes sense.
It's a simple spell, but quite unbreakable.
Yes.
Which, and now that like, especially because we're trying to focus on audio, right? And we were talking about that whole thing with like, even with like battle maps and stuff, whereas like us just playing, that would have been fine. You could have like switched your hat, but like since we're recording it, we felt like voices would bring a little bit more clarity for people who are listening to know like what's going on.
Yeah.
And we've had moments where even like I know that I've done this like even playing Captain Indy, which has been like my little way to like guide you and getting you started.
Captain Indy.
But like helping you guys get started on like the journey and like direct you a little bit, right? That like I'll notice that like I just like I'm talking about rules, but I didn't drop the voice, and so I sound like an idiot because I'm still talking as Captain Indy, but I'm talking about like, well, the 5e rules say that, and like it's just like it's difficult learning to like transition between like being in character or not in character that way. Whereas like a hat switch is not something that you're having to really do much or change anything. It's just like emotion,
Just like a Swift.
Yeah. But that makes sense, Oh, what about Ruinel?
So, hardest part of like executing Ruinel, I think, is one definitely the voice, but that's part of the process is learning how to do it, and I've already talked about that enough.
Can I take a guess at what it'll be?
Go ahead.
Reading your character sheet.
Yeah, yeah, because I have very small eyes. No, like wait, that's like like being new to D&D. Obviously, that's gonna have its own growing pains. I think the hardest part is just trying to and it's again part of the learning process of role playing and like in like this physical aspect, because most of like my character building and stuff like that, whenever I work on writing for a film or just writing for my own personal leisure, you know, I like to describe things in words and like how they look, how they look, what they do as they're talking or whatever. But in the case of like one just doing it physically, and then two doing it over like an audio platform, it's like I'm having to, and also having it be on the fly. It's like trying to like adjust so quickly between like, just because I'm a very calm person, I think, while Ruinell is not calm, like in a perpetual state of just seething rage. Either seething rage or just sarcastic boredom.
Yeah.
Which sometimes is me, but most of the time isn't. So it's like having to constantly transition into like just from me to not me to someone who's very different from me. That like the transition is just something I'm just learning to work with. But yeah, I think that's probably the hardest part.
Yeah.
Along with just the fact that I am new.
Yeah, and mechanically and stuff, you've got to learn how the game works.
I like your funny words, Magic Man.
Exactly. And then also, actually, no, I changed my answer. Hardest part is I keep getting astoundingly bad rolls.
No, there's a good stretch, I believe. I think it's episode 3. Episode 3 should be coming out like a couple of days after we're recording this right now. But I've been editing it recently, and I believe that there's like a section where Ruinell like gets like 2 bad rolls and then just rolls like really, really good, like 15 and higher for like the rest of the session. It was awesome. Because you've been suffering from some bad rolls here and there, especially on ones that matter too, which is kind of funny.
Yes, like during the dragon fight where
the wyvern, yeah.
Or I could have, or it's a beast with wings. It's a giant lizard with wings. It's fine.
Close enough.
Shut up, I'm kidding. But like where she was like she was doing her super sick like soloing the dragon for the last moment, and then she trips.
Yeah.
And I'm like, are you kidding me, man?
Yeah. Okay, so just as a kind of like a little final whatever hoorah for this, this is just kind of like a general open question. Where do you guys hope to see the party go?
I want my box. Give me my box.
Vengeance.
I like punching things.
Anarchy.
Vengeance, anarchy, punching things, and a box.
So
you heard it here, folks.
Guys, mark my words. We're probably gonna torch a village sometime soon.
It happens from time to time.
Just casually, yeah. Wait until Adam.
I'm sorry. The person who's playing the cop is gonna torch a village.
Hey, if it's a house spectrum. Oh, never mind. I don't think I can say that because the episode's not out yet. But actually,
this is after the most recent
actually that's
episode.
true. Okay. But like, sorry, cut that. I guess. If it's a house spectrum village, that thing's getting torched.
Well,
no mercy.
Yeah, there we go. Our new player has suggested his first war crime, and I believe that's a good introduction to every new player to D&D once they've become well acquainted, is that they suggest a war crime. So, but yeah, so that's really it from us, I think, for this. If you guys have any questions or things that you want to hear, answers from our players, please let us know. Comment on Spotify. Email us. Gosh, I sound old.
Can you comment on Spotify? I've actually
Yeah,
never-
Yes.
yeah, you can comment on
Yeah.
Spotify.
I've been
but,
looking at the comments on Spotify.
Oh,
we have, I
gosh,
think,
I'm
2
scared.
comments at
I'm
this
scared
point.
to go see what
But that's
comments they
all right.
are.
No, I think they've been generally positive so far.
Yeah.
But yeah, so if you reach out to us, message us, DM us, those types of things, questions, all
Show
that.
us your artwork.
Yes,
Yes.
yeah. If we
Wow,
have any
artwork.
fan art or anything like that, I doubt we will at this point. By the time that this is initially released, but maybe we may get surprised. Yeah, just tag us, share it with us, and
Sorry, I'm looking at the Spotify comments and just noticed that one of my friends commented on the Spotify.
Yay!
Thanks, Austin.
but yeah. So that's all from us. So
Bitty bitty bitty. That's all, folks.
That's all, folks.
I know,
Bye.
this episode of Beyond the Gates features Adam Baeza as Adam Baeza, Mitchell Caldwell is Mitchell Caldwell, Bryleigh Myers as Bryleigh Myers, and Chelsea Willis as Chelsea Willis. This episode was a casual discussion that will be edited by Jacob Breaux. It was produced by Jesse Adkins, with our main theme composed by Stephen Matherne. If you like our show, please sure to share it with a friend, rate us on your listening platform, and follow us on Instagram at Beyond the Gates Pod. Our next episode will drop 2 weeks from whatever this comes out. We don't know when this is going to get released, if it'll get released. So 2 weeks from whenever you hear this, there will be another one. Episode 6, baby! Brief editor's note, episode 6 will actually release next Wednesday, March 12th. We had talked about pushing this one to March 12th and then episode 6 coming out 2 weeks after then. However, we've decided to release this episode 5.5, in between episodes 5 and 6 instead of on our usual bi-weekly schedule. So enjoy this, and we'll see you next week for episode 6. Yeah, stay tuned, and we'll see you then.